Is this actually true? The pharma industry might shut down.
सिर्फ इस इंडस्ट्री के लिए नहीं बल्कि बहुत सी इंडस्ट्रीज़ के लिए, बहुत से लोगों के लिए बहुत मुश्किलात हैं।
तो $3.5 बिलियन का मेडिसिन पाकिस्तान में बन रहा है
जी।
वाओ।
हमारी जो एनर्जी कॉस्ट है इज़ द हाईएस्ट इन द वर्ल्ड। बांग्लादेश में जो कॉस्ट ऑफ एनर्जी है वो 6 to 7 सेंट्स अ किलोवाट आवर है। इंडिया में भी तकरीबन इतनी है।
एंड रिलेटिवली पाकिस्तान में कितनी है?
22 से 24 सेंट्स अ किलोवाट आवर पड़ती है।
सो इट्स 4 times more.
इट्स 4 times more। पानी जो है फार्मास्यूटिकल्स में आपको 0 TDS पे लाना पड़ता है। कराची में पानी मिलता है वो 11,000 TDS का होता है।
A million people are tied to the pharma industry.
जी, at least minimum. And by 1951 and 52, there were 9 pharmaceutical manufacturing plants in Pakistan.
Wow.
There were none in India. There were none in Malaysia. There were none in China. There were none in the region.
Hello and welcome everyone to Digitales. My name is Faizan Sayyed, founder and CEO of East River. और आज मेरे साथ एक बहुत accomplished, successful businessman हैं जो अपनी life story share करेंगे। वो Getz Pharma के CEO हैं। Getz Pharma is the #1 pharmaceutical पाकिस्तानी company। साथ में वो WWF के president भी रह चुके हैं। Not the wrestling WWF, the World Wildlife Federation के पाकिस्तान में president रह चुके हैं। He's on the board of the Zindagi Trust. And he is on the board of Doorbeen for Teachers Training. Khalid Mahmood Saab, how are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you for joining us. I've known you for a while. I've seen your journey. It's an inspiring journey, and I wanted to just kind of document that and have a conversation. But before I get into the whole journey part of it, मैं ये सवाल करना चाह रहा था. I came across this article जब मैं research कर रहा था. It was from May of 2023. Deutsche Welle, which is the BBC of Germany, उन्होंने एक आर्टिकल लिखा था कि the pharma firms in Pakistan are shutting down. अब ये आर्टिकल था मई का, 4-5 महीने हो गए इस बात को, 6 महीने let's say। और उन्होंने ये वजूहत लिखी थी कि सर्जरीज पोस्टपोन हो रही हैं, मेडिसिन की शॉर्टेजेस हैं, प्राइस इंक्रीज में मसले हैं और IMF की जो मसले चल रहे थे उस वजह से पाकिस्तान की पूरी फार्मा इंडस्ट्री जो है इवेंचुअली बंद हो जाएगी। क्या ये फार्मा एसोसिएशन का प्रोपेगेंडा था और इज दिस एक्चुअली ट्रू? द फार्मा इंडस्ट्री माइट शट डाउन।
ओके, तो मेरा अपना ख्याल है कि दिस इंशाल्लाह ऐसा नहीं होगा, इसलिए कि मुश्किलात तो हैं और सिर्फ इस इंडस्ट्री के लिए नहीं बल्कि बहुत सी इंडस्ट्रीज़ के लिए, बहुत से लोगों के लिए बहुत मुश्किलात हैं। However, I think that people or governments also realize, or I would like to think that they do, that it is a essential industry. Pakistan pharma industry जो है वो almost about for 700 billion rupees की medicines बनाती है और consume करवाती है। इमेजिन करें अगर 700 बिलियन रुपीस की मेडिसिन इंडस्ट्री बंद हो गई, the country will have to import those medicines.
So ये $2 billion तकरीबन।
जी,
little over $2 billion.
Well, it's a little over if you include everything, the tenders, etc. is probably about $3.5 billion.
तो $3.5 billion का मेडिसिन पाकिस्तान में बन रहा है
जी।
वाओ
जी।
और अगर ये रिस्क पे है तो ये इस मेडिसिन को रिप्लेस करने का तरीका सिर्फ इम्पोर्ट है
जी, उसके अलावा कुछ नहीं है जी। तो और अगर सारा नहीं हो, अगर समझे 50% भी हो जाए तो दैट इज़ ऑल्सो वेरी बिग क्राइसिस बिकॉज अ लॉट ऑफ मेडिसिन्स आर स्टिल इम्पोर्टेड and at least so imagine that instead of us, a country producing those medicines, if you start reducing those, whatever you make, the crisis is around the corner.
So ये जो आर्टिकल में लिखे थे वजूहात, what are the reasons that pharma companies might shut down in the next, let's say, 12 months?
देखें, the reasons for shutdown are 3 in my opinion. First is the material crisis, the material reasons. The arithmetic is not adding up. 78% of the cost of goods sold of a product are imported raw and packaging materials.
78%.
78%, जी, 70 to 78%.
So you're saying कि जो दवा हम खाते हैं,
जी.
78% is imported.
70 to 78% का उसके अंदर जुज होते हैं, जो उसके जो
active pharmaceutical ingredient.
जी, जो active
API.
pharmaceutical ingredients and packaging materials, they are imported.
तो पैकेजिंग भी हम पाकिस्तान में नहीं बनाते.
पैकेजिंग भी नहीं बनाते जी. So they are imported. Now imagine कि when there's a 100% or 80% devaluation of the currency, what impact will it have on the cost of the product?
लेकिन दूसरी इंडस्ट्री में तो वो कॉस्ट पास ऑन कर देते हैं, एटलीस्ट पार्ट ऑफ इट.
फार्मा में नहीं करते. तो एक रीज़न तो ये है कि इसकी arithmetic is not adding up and the profitability is going down, and therefore a lot of products the companies are discontinuing because they are no longer viable.
तो अगर डिसकंटिन्यू कर रहे हैं तो दैट मींस देयर आर स्टिल पीपल हु नीड दोस प्रोडक्ट्स.
जी.
सो हाउ डू दे फिल दैट नीड?
So they fill that need through various kinds of grey channels, informal channels.
तो जो स्मगलिंग का ड्रग्स का जो स्मगलिंग है वो बढ़ जाता है.
जी, मैं कुछ I'm not so I can't really say exactly, but the people find a way to, or they simply don't have those medicines and they suffer,
right?
And they hence हमारे जो infant mortality है already ज़्यादा है, हमारे जो number of stunted children हैं दुनिया में सबसे ज़्यादा हैं, हमारे यहाँ जो दूसरे जो बीमारियाँ हैं जैसे कैंसर की ना कोई प्रोडक्ट अभी तक नहीं बनती है. एक ही कंपनी है जिसने अभी सेटअप किया.
Hepatitis is a big issue in Pakistan.
So all these things are going to lead to human misery. Now this is one reason.
So that's your material cost reason.
जी, material. मगर जो मेरे ख्याल में फैज़ान साहब की जो सबसे बड़ी वजह है वो ये है कि ये एक इंडस्ट्री है जिसको 60 साल लगे हैं डेवलप होने में, आहिस्ता आहिस्ता ये बनी है और बढ़ गई है. अब ये इंडस्ट्री जो है एक्सपोर्ट भी कर रही है. और
कितना एक्सपोर्ट होगा इसका अंदाज़न?
बहुत थोड़ा, मगर हमारे इंडस्ट्री के, हमारे इकोनॉमी के प्रोपोर्शन में it's I think it's pretty large. हमारे इंडस्ट्री, हमारे एक्सपोर्ट एज यू नो इज़ ओनली $22 billion. ये इंडस्ट्री जो है अबाउट $250 million की एक्सपोर्ट करती है.
$250 million.
250. As compared to that, Jordan exports almost $1 billion worth of products. Only 7 million people. And the
Jordan exports $1 billion of pharma products.
1 billion. B for Bombay, you know. So it वो एक्सपोर्ट करती है. तो हमारी तो बहुत nascent है ये इंडस्ट्री हमारे. It's a fledgling export, but many international agencies have termed it as a sunrise industry. If some little attention is given to it, government gives some attention to it, this sunrise industry will rise. The sun will rise on this industry, and this can be a big exporter. Now I'm going to mention the second reason. So coming back to the second reason, देखिए second reason ये है कि अगर आप एक इंडस्ट्री को सही तरह से देखेंगे नहीं, उसके रेगुलेट नहीं करेंगे, रेगुलेशंस नहीं बनाएंगे, उसकी जो मसले हैं उसको नहीं समझेंगे या नहीं उसके लिए कुछ करेंगे, तो ये इंडस्ट्री सिक हो जाएगी और इवेंचुअली दिस इंडस्ट्री विल डाई. हमारे यहाँ कितनी ऐसी इंडस्ट्रीज़ हैं जो बहुत हेल्दी थी. एयरलाइन इंडस्ट्री हमारी सबको पता है कि वी आर अ वेरी हेल्दी एयरलाइन, एंड नाउ दैट एयरलाइन which is a company, with a corporation, right? It is dead. It is dying. मतलब it's more than dead. If it was dead, at least we would not be putting in billions of rupees of subsidies on a dead body.
But it's on life support.
It's past life support. It's life support. It was if it was running its own fuel. Right, it's on profitability. Just last week, I think the government gave them 17 billion rupees of loans, which will be eventually written off. So I think that हमारे जो जो गवर्नमेंट जो हैं पूरी सारी गवर्नमेंट, इट्स नॉट जस्ट वन और टू, throughout my 27 years of duration that I worked here, the government I think is married to the economic theories of the 20s.
The 1920s.
1920s, of course, you know. Not
Because it could be the 2020s.
thankfully they're not 1820s. But
चल, at least they made some progress. 100 साल आगे आ
100
गए.
साल आगे. तो देखें ये बहुत बड़ा क्राइसिस है. हम कोई भी इंडस्ट्री होती है, जब वो बीमार हो रही होती है, सिकनेस की तरफ जा रही होती है, उसका हम तवज्जो नहीं देते, हम उनकी सुनते नहीं हैं. और मेरे ख़्याल में ये कैपेसिटी नहीं है, या ये लीडरशिप नहीं है, या ये जो स्किल है गवर्नमेंट में जो होती है वो ख़त्म हो गई है कि आप एक चीज़ को देखें, एक सिचुएशन एनालिसिस करें और फिर उसको रेक्टिफाई करें. तो ये बहुत बड़ी वजह है कि ये जो इस इंडस्ट्री को सिक होने के लिए, और पीपल आर नाउ स्पेक्यूलेटिंग दैट इज़ गोना डाई, like the DW article, of course, is a very respectable, prestigious magazine, and they must have done some research, and there are some hence they have made that statement. Mm-hmm. So I think that the government has does not. We have on several occasions, I myself has met various decision makers in the country in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and we have requested them to classify the pharmaceutical industry as one of the premier industries. But that has not happened.
उस क्लासिफिकेशन का फ़ायदा क्या होता है?
उस क्लासिफिकेशन का ये फ़ायदा होता है फैज़ान कि हमारा देखिए, जो फार्मा इंडस्ट्री है बड़ी लेबर इंटेंसिव है, बट स्पेशलाइज्ड लेबर इंटेंसिव, एंड इट इज़ वेरी एनर्जी इंटेंसिव. हमारी जो एनर्जी कॉस्ट है इज़ द हाईएस्ट इन द वर्ल्ड. एंड यू नो, बांग्लादेश में जो कॉस्ट ऑफ एनर्जी है वो 6 to 7 cents a kilowatt hour है. इंडिया में भी तकरीबन इतनी है, मलेशिया में तकरीबन इतनी है. They just have increased it to 10, and there's a lot of hue and cry. But their other inflation, industrial inflation is very, very stable. So
and relatively पाकिस्तान में कितनी है?
जी, यहाँ पे हमें 22 से 24 cents a kilowatt hour पड़ती है.
So it's 4 times more.
It's expensive. 4 times more, and on top of that, it's unreliable. There were a lot of brownouts, so we have to keep 100% backup through diesel generators. And even though in Karachi, at least, that brownout periods are reducing over time, but they're still there. And when that does happen, you know, the diesel is like almost costs us about 50 rupees 55 rupees per kilowatt hour.
So if you blend it over, let's say, a month or a year's usage, you're looking at about 30 cents per kilowatt hour.
Exactly. Minimum.
अब imagine वही 17 बिलियन आपने जो कहे थे PIA को मिल गए, अगर आपकी एनर्जी सब्सिडी में चले जाते तो आपका क्या फ़ायदा होता?
देखें, हमें सब्सिडी नहीं चाहिए. मेरा अपना ख्याल है कि मैं जब भी प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहिबान से मिला हूँ,
राइट,
और मैं फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर साहिबान से या कॉमर्स, उन्होंने मुझसे तजावीज़ मांगी हैं, बिकॉज आई एम द लार्जेस्ट एक्सपोर्टर आउट ऑफ पाकिस्तान,
राइट,
एंड द लार्जेस्ट फार्मास्यूटिकल कंपनी. मैंने सबसे पहले कहा है कि सर, हमें सब्सिडीज़ नहीं चाहिए.
You're probably the only one who says that, हाँ? बाकी सब तो सिर्फ सब्सिडी पे चल रहे हैं इस मुल्क में.
सर, वो सही नहीं है. That's why we are sick ना. देखें, अगर मैं इस कुर्सी पे बैठा रहूँगा 4 दिन तक, और मैं जब उठूँगा तो मुझे कोई पकड़ के उठाएगा, तो उसके बाद में सारी ज़िंदगी I'll need a crutch, right? So I think कि सब्सिडी हमें नहीं चाहिए. एंड मसला यही है कि जब हुकूमत के पास बाज़ लोग जाते हैं इंडस्ट्री के, वो सब्सिडी मांगते हैं. सब्सिडी इज़ नॉट द वे टू गो. परफॉर्मेंस ड्रिवन कल्चर होना चाहिए, और जिसने परफॉर्म किया है उसको देना चाहिए. एंड देयर शुड बी सम पैरिटी between the cost of energy and utilities. देखें, सनतकारी है जिसको इंडस्ट्री कहते हैं, उसको 3 चीज़ें चलाती हैं फैक्ट्री को. ऑफ कोर्स बिसाइड्स द रॉ मटेरियल्स उसको चलाते हैं बिजली, गैस और पानी. मैं आपको एक मिसाल देता हूँ पानी की. पानी जो है फार्मास्यूटिकल्स में आपको 0 TDS पे लाना पड़ता है. TDS इज टोटल डिजॉल्व सॉलिड्स. हमें जो कराची में पानी मिलता है वो 11,000 TDS का होता है.
That's a lot of salts.
That's a lot of salts. That's a lot of impurities.
Yeah.
हमें उसको 0 पे लाने के लिए अमेरिका से बने हुए हमें RO सिस्टम्स और फिल्ट्रेशन सिस्टम्स लाने पड़ते हैं जो बहुत
इम्पोर्ट होते हैं.
जी वो इम्पोर्ट होते हैं
और टैक्सेस लगता है
और टैक्सेस लगते हैं और ड्यूटीज़ लगते हैं.
ठीक है.
और बांग्लादेश में, इंडिया में जो पानी मिलता है वो 75 से 100 TDS का होता है.
और वो लाइन में आता है पानी?
जी लाइन में आता है. जी लाइन में आता है.
यहाँ पे लाइन में नहीं आता?
लाइन में नहीं आता जी. और वो या तो टैंकर से आता है या फिर हम अपने बोरिंग करते हैं और वो बहुत एक्सपेंसिव पड़ती है. मलेशिया में मैंने खुद मेजर किया है TDS पानी एक फैक्ट्री में, फार्मास्यूटिकल फैक्ट्री में. फैज़ान वहाँ पे 50 TDS से लाइन से आता है. अब आप इमेजिन करें कॉस्ट ऑफ कन्वर्जन फ्रॉम 50 TDS टू 0 TDS कितना होता है, और 11,000 TDS टू 0 TDS क्या होगा. और फार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्री जैसे मैंने कहा कि बड़ी एनर्जी इंटेंसिव है, यूटिलिटी इंटेंसिव है. तो पानी जो है एक जैसे हमारी कंपनी है 1 लाख गैलन रोज़ पानी उसको चाहिए होता है.
एक हाउ मेनी टैंकर्स?
100,000. ओह
क्योंकि मैं तो ये सोच रहा हूँ ना कि पानी तो वैसे इफ यू थिंक अबाउट इट, यू पुट वाटर इन अ सिस्टम एंड इट मूव्स ऑन इट्स ओन.
जी.
हियर दिस इज द ओनली कंट्री वेयर मूविंग वाटर using diesel on a tanker on roads. A substance that moves on its own through a pipeline. It's the most inefficient thing I've ever heard of.
मैं अभी हमारे the government was very kind and it's been talking about industrial problems, and there was SIFC में हमारे गवर्नमेंट ने हमें इनवाइट किया था. वहाँ पे सिंध के भी लोग थे गवर्नमेंट के, एंड ऑल्सो from the army, and they were very keen to listen to our views, and I had just requested them कि देखें गैस तो ख़त्म हो रही है तो गैस के बारे में कुछ नहीं कर सकते. बिजली का भी मसला है कि जो भी IPPs का रेट है वो उसकी वजह से हमें बिजली बहुत महंगी मिलती है. मैंने अभी आपको बताया कि हमें मिलती है कोई अबाउट almost 22 cents a kilowatt hour as compared to other countries in the region, India, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Thailand, etc., जहाँ पे 7, 8, 9 cents a kilowatt hour मिलती है. तो हमें पानी तो कम से कम पानी तो बहुत है. अब
हम तो समंदर के बराबर बैठे हैं.
हम समंदर है और हमारा तो दरिया है, जो ऊपर से जो largest non-polar glacier on earth is in Pakistan. Imagine करेंगे God has endowed us with a lot of gifts, and the glaciers are one of them. When the summer comes, they melt and they bring massive amount of very beautiful clean water. There's some call it the God's tears, or the angel's tears to Karachi, the दरिया से पूरे पाकिस्तान को. मगर हमारे कराची में हमारी किस्मत में पानी नहीं है. तो मैंने उनसे दरख्वास्त की थी कि सर खुदा के वास्ते ये जो टैंकर्स है इनको ख़त्म करवा दें और लाइनें डलवा दें. तो एक ज़माने में होती थी तो पानी अच्छा आता था, अब नहीं आता. एंड इट्स कॉजिंग अ लॉट ऑफ डैमेज टू द इंडस्ट्री.
It's bringing water in the lines will also cause a lot of damage to a lot of other people. So it's something that may not happen because it's considered liquid gold. It's an industry in its own. So why would it ever change?
तो मेरे ख़्याल में इसमें थोड़ा सा चॉइस करनी पड़ेगी कि जो इंडस्ट्री जॉब देती है लोगों को, We have 8,000 people working in our factory, and a lot of other pharmaceutical factories also have a lot of people working there. They're also creating value. They're also exporting.
So you would say पूरी industry मिला के at least लाख 2 लाख लोग employ तो करती होगी, right? Labor.
I think that at least 500,000 to million.
A million people.
क्योंकि देखें, there are also people in the field, and of course the people in the factories, and then there's indirect employment also.
So a million people are tied to the pharma industry.
जी, at least minimum.
और अगर हम ये energy costs curtail और manage कर लें, the chances of this industry growing, becoming more competitive, getting more exports out increases significantly.
बहुत potential है, export में बहुत potential है, मगर हम 22 सेंट के इलेक्ट्रिसिटी लेके और हम ये 10,000 या 11,000 TDS का पानी लेके ज़रा मुश्किल हो जाएगा जी.
तो क्या यही वजह है कि पाकिस्तान में एक ज़माने में मल्टीनेशनल फार्मा कंपनीज भरी हुई होती थी? There was a ton of them. इनफैक्ट बल्कि सारी शुरुआत तो वहीं से हुई है पूरी इंडस्ट्री की. आज अगर हम देखें गिन के maybe there's 3 or 4 big ones left. Everyone has either sold off their assets or left the country. Is this the reason they all left? Is because of the issues you mentioned, or is there some other reason?
फैज़ान, ये बहुत अच्छा सवाल है और मेरे ख़्याल में ये बहुत ज़रूरी है समझना इसको, जो आपने सवाल किया है. अक्सर दूसरे जो लोग होते हैं जो टेलीविज़न वगैरह पे ऐसा सवाल नहीं पूछते. जिस तरह मैंने कहा कि पाकिस्तान, गॉड हैज़ बेस्ट आउट पाकिस्तान with such gifts. If you look at the certificate of incorporation of major pharmaceutical multinational companies, they date back to 1949, 1950, 1951 and 1952. And by 1951 and 52, there were 9 pharmaceutical manufacturing plants in Pakistan.
Wow.
There were none in India, there were none in Malaysia, there were none in China, there were none in the region.
Wait, Pakistan had 9. Before India?
Before India, because India was kind of a closed economy at the time.
So was China at that time.
And so was China. And so we had 9. Now there may be 1 or 2 in India, but they were not. The big names were not there very big, in a very big way. So they in Jordan, the first pharmacy school was set up in 1978. If you meet anybody who is 65 years or older in Pakistan today, and they've gone to Punjab University or Karachi University, there were at least, there were hundreds of Jordanian students who were studying pharmacy here.
They used to.
Right? They were.
I remember हम cricket खेलते थे, where we used to live. There was a house there that was basically Jordanian students जो कराची यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ते थे, and that was their sort of their hostel था या accommodation था.
Amazing.
And at that time, this was maybe in the late 80s, early 90s.
Amazing.
You know?
तो और दूसरा ये कि जो वहाँ पे जो फर्स्ट फार्मास्यूटिकल फैक्ट्री बनी है वो 1978 में बनी है जॉर्डन में वो भी जेनेरिक फार्मास्यूटिकल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग बनी है. आज जॉर्डन जो है वो $1 billion के एक्सपोर्ट करता है. 7 मिलियन उसकी पॉपुलेशन है, 70 लाख, और हमारी जो पॉपुलेशन है वो 240 250 और
डिपेंड्स ऑन हू यू आस्क
जी है, मगर डेफिनेटली 220 मिलियन से ज़्यादा है, 22 करोड़ से ज़्यादा है, और हमारी जो एक्सपोर्ट्स हैं $240 मिलियन हैं. ये बहुत मैं समझता हूँ तशवीश का बात है, और इसको हमें सोचना चाहिए कि क्यों ऐसा हो रहा है, और उन वजूहात को रिमूव करना चाहिए. वरना एक जो वो इंडस्ट्री जो इवन पाकिस्तान में हेल्दी थी और अब सिक होती जा रही है, वो ज़्यादा बीमार हो जाएगी, और खुदा ना करे और कि वो DW की बात जो है वो सच निकले.
तो ये जो आप बात कर रहे हैं मल्टीनेशनल्स की, दैट दे केम हियर before they went to any other place in the region. यहाँ पे आए, यहाँ पे सेटअप हुआ और mid-60s 70s में they were at their peak. Something changed along the way और आज I think दो चार ही रहती हैं मुल्क में. क्या do you think कि a 250 million plus population लगभग, right? मतलब दवाओं की तो ज़रूरत है यहाँ पे. हर फार्मा कंपनी का यहाँ होना तो should be a no-brainer. Will there ever be a situation where we see the multinationals come back to Pakistan? Because they brought with them, the important thing is they brought with them technology transfer. They brought with them training. They brought with them infrastructure. They got with them the best practices. ये पूरी इंडस्ट्री जो खड़ी हुई है वो बाहर, आप भी साइनामिड में आपने काम किया है पहले वक्त में, एक दौर में इंटरनेशनल मल्टीनेशनल काम में काम किया. माई फादर वर्कड इन अ मल्टीनेशनल. तो हमने वो देखा है कि what it brings to the country and what it does for the training and the people. Without that, it's difficult to develop an industry. So can multinationals ever come back?
जी देखें, अगर हमारे इकोनॉमिक फंडामेंटल्स चेंज हो जाएं हमारे मुल्क के लिए और हमारे इंडस्ट्री के लिए, तो मेरे ख़्याल में कि मल्टीनेशनल इंडस्ट्री जो है वो कोई वजह नहीं है कि वो वापस आए. But the economics have to be there. If the economics do not work, then of course it'll be very difficult. Having said that, two other things that I want to say. One is कि जो कोई जाता है या जाती है वो मुश्किल से वापस आता है या आती है. ये तो आपने सुना होगा. तो ठीक है.
I didn't see that coming. ये बात तो सही है.
अच्छा, एक तो ये है. दूसरी बात ये है कि हमें ये भी देखना चाहिए कि at the height of the Korean development or the Chinese development, the backbone of the GDP and growth and investment was its own people. हमारे यहाँ जो मल्टीनेशनल का जाने से तो एक अनफॉर्चुनेट चीज़ है, because like you said, multinationals bring in new technologies, new management technologies, new cultures, and of course they bring in diversity.
Right.
Without them we are going to an isolation. But the most unfortunate thing is that in Pakistan, the entrepreneurs and the investors of Pakistan, they are going away. They are leaving the country. But because you are a journalist and you are a researcher, reporter, etc., and you are a businessman yourself, you know how many people have left in the last 4 or 5 years, and these are people who had generations of technology, investments, entrepreneurial capabilities, connections around the world with technology and all, and they are leaving. That's the saddest part for the Pakistani economy.
So when you look at it that way, तो इसमें वापस आना उनका मुश्किल है. तो that means that we are going to have to be dependent on ourselves एक तरह से, right? कि खुद ही या तो इन्वेस्ट करें, ग्रो करें. But there's two areas that I feel फार्मा इंडस्ट्री में मुझे समझ नहीं आता है, अगर ये इंडस्ट्री स्केल करनी है, why has there been no investment or focus on this? Number one, there's no API manufacturing in Pakistan. Active pharmaceutical ingredient जो सारी दवाओं में डलता है वो अभी भी बाहर से आता है, बल्कि इंडिया से आता है ज़्यादातर. नंबर टू, क्लिनिकल ट्रायल्स पाकिस्तान में नहीं होते हैं. ये दो चीज़ों के बगैर आप एक इंडस्ट्री कैसे खड़ी कर सकते हैं जो $1 billion पे जाएगी? आप मतलब we're just literally copy pasting tablets and formulas and trying to ship that abroad, right?
Okay, so देखिए pharmaceutical production of pharmaceutical product has two parts. One, of course, is what you just said is the raw material, otherwise known as active pharmaceutical ingredients, and the other one is the FDF. Anybody will tell you that the active pharmaceutical or the raw material industry is very, very energy intensive.
Right.
And हमारे यहाँ energy इतनी expensive है.
क्यों energy intensive क्यों है?
Because you have to go through a chemical process. So you have to buy what you call the intermediates, which comes from the cracking of the hydrocrackers, which is a very, very high-tech and very technological process, which primarily takes place in the West or in China. Now in China, India has just allocated. Mr. Modi had just allocated $10 billion to develop that thing.
So ये फिर भी बाहर से आएगा, ये चीज़ तो बाहर से
ये तो खैर बाहर से ही आएगा. और फिर आपको जब इंटरमीडिएट बाहर से आएगा, और आपको उसको 10 या 15 या 9 या 12 प्रोसेस से गुजारना पड़ेगा.
And each process is energy intensive.
Each process is energy intensive, number one. Number two, it has a lot of other downstream industry that is required, which is, let's say, ethanol, pharmaceutical grade ethanol, methanol, so other kinds of reagents, chemicals, specialized kind of equipment, which are very explosion proof, because these things are very highly inflammable.
And there's a lot of heat involved in the
There's
process.
a heat involved, lot of pressure involved.
Right.
It's जो pressure जो fermenter होता है, वो it's like a bomb. इतना pressure होता है, इसमें heat होती है. तो ये सारे एक process है जो के आप यहाँ पे अगर करेंगे तो आप बना तो लेंगे, जैसे आपने स्टील इंडस्ट्री लगाई, बना तो ली आपने, मगर वो आपका बहुत सालों तक उसको आपको पहले सब्सिडाइज करना पड़ा, उसके बाद फिर वो लॉसेस में जाने लगी, फिर हर साल उसको जो है हमने गवर्नमेंट ने उसको सब्सिडी दी. और आई थिंक
बट वो तो एक स्टेट ओन्ड एंटरप्राइज है, तो दैट्स नॉट एफिशिएंटली रन. ये तो एपीआई इंडस्ट्री तो प्राइवेटली ओन्ड हो सकती है.
राइट. तो मगर मसला यही है कि अगर आपके टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं है आपके कॉलेजेस में, यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में,
अच्छा एकेडमिक्स ही नहीं है, इसको
एकेडमिक्स नहीं है, आपके पास कंसल्टेंट्स नहीं है जो यहाँ पे आएँ. कंसल्टेंट्स कहाँ से आएंगे? या चाइना से या इंडिया से ही आएंगे, राइट. यूएस में तो अब अमेरिका में और यूएस में और यूरोप में तो बनता नहीं है अब ये. तो और वैसे भी जो चीज़ें बनती भी हैं वो लोग यहाँ आते हुए थोड़ा सा उनको घबराते हैं.
तो इंडिया से आ जाए, क्या मसला है?
इंडिया जी इंशाल्लाह. सही फरमाया आपने.
बराबर ही तो है, इट्स जस्ट अ शॉर्ट ड्राइव अवे.
जी हाँ, राइट. It is. Yes. It's about 1 hour and 20 minutes to Mumbai.
It is true.
It is. It's shorter than Lahore. But khair, if wishes were horses,
Right.
Then so you know what would happen. So I think that.
So यानी कि हमारे पास equipment भी नहीं है, हमारे पास process भी नहीं है, हमारे पास labor भी नहीं है. For
technical labor.
Technical labor.
जी.
The knowledge.
जी. And it requires a large amount of land.
वो तो है हमारे पास.
जी.
पूरा बलूचिस्तान खाली पड़ा हुआ है.
हाँ, बिल्कुल. वो उसमें देखिए, यू राइट, यू हैव टू have then a holistic form of development. In other words, you have to form whole industrial cities where there are schools, where there are trains, where there are buses.
तो ये तो एक 20-25 साल की आपने कहानी बता दी है, that to get this API thing going.
नहीं, बांग्लादेश में तो मैंने देखा है 6 साल में होते हुए.
6 साल में कर सकते हैं.
जी. वियतनाम में भी ऐसे देखा है, और इतनी देर तो नहीं लगती. सड़कें तो सड़कें बनाना तो ये तो मुंजदारों में भी कितनी अच्छी सड़कें बनती थी.
वो तो उस ज़माने
5000 साल हो गए, तो सड़कें बनाना तो एक बहुत पुरानी
हुकूमत कोई और थी. बट इसमें अगर 6 साल लगते हैं, that this is within the ambit of any government. It actually makes sense, because अगर if it's a 5-year term for government, this can be one of the greatest gifts that a government leaves behind, is the development of an API industry, because you can scale your pharma industry easily to $1 billion, if not $2 billion.
Yeah. मगर फैज़ान देखें, इस वक्त FDF जो फिनिश डोजेज फॉर्म है, वो एक भी कैंसर की प्रोडक्ट आज तक यहाँ नहीं बनती लोकली, जिसको कि आप रियली प्रोडक्शन कह सकें, जो आप इंटरनेशनल लेवल की उसको क्या.
उसकी क्या वजह है?
वजह यही है कि इन्वेस्टर्स कम हैं, पॉलिसीज़ जो हैं वो आज हैं कल नहीं हैं, और हम ज़ाहिर है हम हमारे we have various points of contention with various states in the world, but we have never given import substitution benefit to our industry.
Okay.
So पहले तो आप चलना सीखेंगे, फिर आप दौड़ना सीखेंगे, भागना सीखेंगे, फिर आप मैराथन रन करेंगे. You see, you do not have these the FDF, the finished dosage forms की आप. तो you are in the medical field and you know that आपको कितनी मसले होते हैं. यहाँ पे कैंसर पेशेंट्स को मॉर्फिन के इंजेक्शन नहीं मिलते, पेन किलर पैलिएटिव केयर के लिए वो बहुत तकलीफ़ में रहते हैं. यहाँ पे अल्जाइमर्स की नहीं है, पार्किंसंस की दवाएं नहीं हैं, आपको ऑटो इम्यून्स जो डिजीज़ हैं उसकी दवाएं नहीं हैं यहाँ पे. बेसिक्स तो बहुत हैं, जो है एंटीबायोटिक्स हैं, जो कार्डियो मेटाबॉलिक की दवाएं हैं, मगर कितने यहाँ पे ऐसे थेरेप्यूटिक क्लासेस हैं जहाँ की दवाएं हैं ही नहीं. और द वे द सिस्टम इज़ मूविंग, I really doubt if they will be here very soon.
Right.
So diseases and the prevalence of diseases, the complexity of diseases are increasing.
But the medicines aren't there.
The prevalence of cancer is increasing.
Right.
Quite sharply. So उसकी जब medicines नहीं हैं तो आप उसको तो पूरा करें पहले. उसके बाद फिर आप API की टेक्नोलॉजी जो है वो उसके ऊपर जाएं, एंड वन दैट इज़ कंपेरेटिव, वन दैट इज़ दैट फॉर विच you cannot import it from other countries.
एक और चीज़ मैंने, it's a question in my head. Some people say that pharma companies are part healthcare companies and part travel agents, given how much they fly doctors around the world. ये मुझे ज़रा समझाएं, why is the pharma industry in Pakistan still incentivizing healthcare professionals in that way by flying them around कि आप इधर इधर घूमें, और आप फिर जब आप घूमेंगे ज़्यादा तो आपको benefits भी ज़्यादा मिलेंगे, फिर वो क्या नाम है, वो medicine भी फिर ज़्यादा prescribe करते हैं. Is this not a system that should not be happening in a poor country like ours, जहाँ वैसे ही लोगों के पास मोटरसाइकिल में पेट्रोल डालने के पैसे नहीं हैं, फिर डॉक्टर जो है वो 10 दवाएं लिखवा रहा है rather than actually जो एक चाहिए उसको.
बिल्कुल, I think you're absolutely correct.
And could this be a reason that the actual multinationals are leaving because they can't compete with this?
No, I think that multinationals clearly are leaving because their margins are going down, and also they have difficulty now, at least in repatriating their profits abroad. And a lot of them have left, of course, because now they are scaling up to more complex types of medicines, such as biosimilars, biotechnologies, etc.
Right.
And they are selling their older molecules all over the world, not just in Pakistan. But the sad part is that they're not coming in and bringing their higher technologies here. But coming back to your question, I think you're absolutely correct. This should not happen. But you have to put it in perspective. This is an issue of governance, right?
Self-governance नहीं हो सकती. The industry can't self-govern.
Self-governance up to a certain extent हो सकती है और होती है. मगर अब ये है कि जो lot of doctors जो surgical procedures होते हैं वो पहले यहाँ पे होते थे, यहाँ पे बाहर से डॉक्टर्स आते थे, बाहर से उनकी टीम्स आती थी, वो करती हैं, वो बहुत कम हो गई. अभी भी होती हैं. There are a lot of people who manage this. And the civil hospital, Dr. Saad Khalid Diaz and many others, they fly in professors, teachers from other universities, and they hold those trainings here. We have supported that. Others are also supported that. But a lot of this does not happen. Therefore, the continuing education for doctors, especially the professors who are employed in the government sector, that has to be done, and therefore some of that takes place. Now, I have always said, and many others.
So you're saying कि continuous education के लिए ही doctors को बाहर conferences पे भेजा जाता है ताकि they stay up to date with whatever is happening around the world.
But
if the pharma industry is funding that activity and individual companies are funding that, isn't that some sort of a biased system? क्योंकि eventually that doctor is indebted to that company.
जी नहीं, ऐसा मेरे ख्याल में नहीं होता, क्योंकि they seek permission.
Right.
and then that's how they go.
And so
and
much so that
I think that they are no company makes everything, therefore they
they
are
have to
free
go
to.
to the others.
But you know the more important thing is कि इसके अंदर अराउंड जो legislation है वो बननी चाहिए, और अगर कोई कंपनी इसको वायलेट करती है दे शुड बी डेल्ट विद अकॉर्डिंग टू द लॉ.
अभी legislation नहीं है.
एंड अभी लेजिस्लेशन जो है वो नहीं है.
तो अगर एक डॉक्टर कहता है कि
फोर्स नहीं है,
तो अगर डॉक्टर कहे कि मुझे एक गाड़ी दे दें और मेरे क्लिनिक बना दें और एसी लगा दें और एक फार्मा कंपनी जाके बनवा के सब कुछ कर देती है, एंड इवेंचुअली दैट डॉक्टर गारंटीज अ सर्टेन अमाउंट ऑफ सेल्स टू दैट फार्मा कंपनी, ये भी प्रैक्टिस मैंने सुना है होता है इंडस्ट्री में. इस पे कोई लेजिस्लेशन नहीं टू प्रोटेक्ट दिस.
देखिए मेरा ख्याल, आप मुझे बताइए कि एक कंपनी जो है फार्मास्यूटिकल कंपनी, अगर वो कितने डॉक्टरों को ये कर सकेगी, और फिर वो हाउ विल दे the doctor population in Pakistan is into 50,000 or
PMDC is registered over 200,000 doctors, but of them 60% are women, so you've got practicing 50, maybe 40, 50, and the top 10 the top performing doctors in the country are no more than 500 to 1,000.
No,
roughly.
it's more than that now, especially because you know our towns are turning into big cities, our villages are turning into towns. So I think there's a lot, but I think that is there's a lot of let's say fairy tales in that too,
Right.
And it should be looked at by through a proper agency,
Right.
and it should
That would fall under DRAP, right? Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan, or would this legislation fall elsewhere?
No. Drug Regulatory Authority I think is only deals with the quality of the drugs.
Okay.
And unfortunately the pricing of the drugs too.
Right.
You know, but I think there are other agencies who would be responsible for doing that, and there are many.
So you're in favor कि legislation होना चाहिए to curtail some of this?
जी बिल्कुल, legislation होनी चाहिए और उसकी implementation होनी चाहिए, और both the beneficiary as well as the person who was giving that benefit should be dealt with according to the law.
Right.
And उसकी awareness फैलानी चाहिए और उसका जी.
I want to switch gears. मैंने बहुत pharma industry की बात कर ली. It's an interesting topic, but I want to come back to sort of your journey. You started you worked for global multinationals. You studied in the US. You did your undergrad in industrial engineering, then in California. Then you went to Rutgers, did your MBA in marketing. You worked at multinational companies. Then in 95, you sort of joined an acquisition of a company of about 30 employees with 29 million rupees in revenue in 95. And you took that company in 20 years to be the biggest pharma company, domestic pharma company in the country, the largest exporter in the country in 20 years, right? And you did not, it's not like you came as an entrepreneur. You know, you were a professional who switched over into this. How did you do it? What's the secret sauce?
Well, देखिए, secret sauce is common sense, right? No, but seriously, when I returned to Pakistan, I had already worked in the United States for about 11 years in manufacturing.
Okay.
I started my work with a manufacturing company in the United States, which was hurting very much in terms of not being competitive, because its rejection rate was high, its operations excellence or operations overall equipment effectiveness rate was very, very low. And pretty soon it laid off almost 3,000 people.
Wow.
And then it started a very big program of quality management, productivity management. And I was in that company at that time. So I was very lucky that I was there at the right
What
place.
company was this?
This was a company called ITT Canon Electric. And it used to produce some very high-tech electronic equipment, which was to go into anywhere from medical devices to aeroplanes and missiles, etc.
So you didn't start in pharma.
No, I started in pharma 3 years after that.
Okay,
so I was
switched.
like maybe 24 years old when I was working there.
Okay.
And at age 27, I switched to pharma.
Okay.
Just as a coincidence, I did not know that.
So it's not a plan.
It was not a plan. It was
no
just
master plan. I'm going to take over Pakistani's pharma industry.
It was a better salary and better town, right? So I switched to pharma.
Right.
And then this company had projects all over the world.
Right.
And so I worked in manufacturing with that company in various countries. And then one day they switched me into marketing and sales. And so when I came and I started work at Getz Pharma, it was I was very clear that the only way to be successful is to be at the cutting edge of quality,
right,
at the cutting edge of productivity, at the cutting edge of employee satisfaction, hiring the best talent, identifying the best talent, hiring the best talent, and retaining them. And of course, I was very clear about one other thing. I knew Pakistan. I was a student of politics and a little bit of economy. I didn't learn much, but I learned this much that Pakistan's economic fundamentals are not very sound.
Right.
The tax, which was even at that time in 1995 when I started, it was the lowest per capita and per GDP tax country.
Still is
50 and still is for 40% of the economy at that time was not taxed, and the only segment that was taxed was unfortunately the employees, the salaried class, and of course the manufacturing sector.
So some things never change.
And I also knew that Pakistan will never be able to make APIs.
Right.
So we'll continue to buy APIs from outside. Throughout my last 27 years of journey, the fewer and fewer things are being produced in Pakistan, and they were being imported. Back in 1995, more goods were produced in Pakistan then. So if you look at the statistics, it will show you that the contribution of manufacturing sector to the economy is going down, whereas in Bangladesh it's going up. So anybody with half a mind would conclude to that you have to be a major exporter in order to hedge your currency. Right. So I was very clear that we will. And how do you export? You have to reinvest in your manufacturing.
Right.
You get certifications. You get international certifications. You learn.
So you mentioned कि systems process में invest करना और people में invest करना. Obviously equipment में भी. But tell me how you invested in people that made you so successful.
Well, you invest in people by training them, by providing them the right training. When I worked in America, when there were good times, training was a number. You have to get X% of your people trained.
Correct.
So, and the report had to go to the board. Then what percent of the people did you train? So when a few months before the report, people were rushing to send their colleagues to train for training. Training. So I think that you have to determine the needs. What is the need of each person? What is the gap in each person? And train him or her on that particular aspect, and then monitor the change.
Right.
So I think that's how you develop. And of course, respect for people is very important.
Right.
You have to care about the people This does not mean that you do not ask for results.
Yeah.
And of course, a very important principle that you have to have the right person on the bus, and if somehow you have the wrong person off the bus, very respectfully get him off the bus and help him go to another bus.
Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
So
So that is a very important principle
Yeah.
that a lot of leaders forget.
There was one other thing I remember. I think when you had started the company, one thing you're missing, or at least that I will share, is you were also known to be one of the best compensation companies in the market. Like when people used to give one company car to its managers, you would give two. You know. So, क्या compensation पाकिस्तान के लिए is training really that important? Is everything about compensation? कि अगर मैं overcompensate करूँ इन हालात में, I will get who I want and I can keep them for as long as I want. मतलब ये mindset होना चाहिए या training फिर भी ज़रूरी है?
नहीं, मेरे ख्याल में compensation is one thing only. देखिए, पाकिस्तान is one of the few countries where employees get a car.
Right.
Why is that? Because हमारे यहाँ बैंक के loans नहीं थे. This is something which has started only recently. And even now one has to put in a large amount of money down.
Yep.
Right? It's unlike other countries where 0%. Today in countries from Malaysia to Uzbekistan to the US, it's a 0% down, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So that is not the case in Pakistan. Therefore, companies have to help their employees to be, let's say, mobile, yeah. And so this was the need. And when you identify the need, and if you fill the need, anybody's need first, you do have an appreciation by the person, and also you have helped them to be more productive. So I think that this was the thing. But no, certainly not. Compensation is not the only thing for people to be productive. It's your management capacity to train them and give them the right job to the right person. After you have the right person on the right bus, and you have to then monitor their result areas.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have any difficulty, genuine problems, you have to put your heart into it. You have to put your time into with the people so that they are empowered and they become successful. You don't want the people fail, and you want to catch them doing good things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And not really put them down all the time. So I think this is what the principle that you asked was.
And isme the question I would have is, let's say they do fail, and let's say they fail after your training and the right compensation and everything. How do you know when to pull the plug on someone? Because that's the hardest thing to do.
Yes, it is. It is see, you have to first, obviously, like you said, analyze that are they the right person for the right job. If they are not, okay, then can you fix them anywhere else? But if you cannot, then of course they were better off doing something else somewhere else. You have to get the right person.
And if someone is not intrinsically motivated, you know they're the right person for the job, they're not able to get the results, multiple sessions of coaching, all of that, everything's been done. But कि बस वो नहीं आ रहा है output. How long do you let that run? Because at the end of the day, this is a commercial enterprise, right?
जी.
In your experience.
Yeah. So देखिए, आप बेसिकली ये कह रहे हैं फैज़ान कि किसी को कुछ रिजल्ट देना है, राइट?
जी.
तो वो रिजल्ट नहीं दे रहा, राइट?
और आपने हर चीज़
ट्राई कर ली है, तो आपको बहुत ज़्यादा इंतज़ार नहीं करना चाहिए. You must not wait for too long.
What is that time? 3 months, 6 months?
Yeah, I think 3 to 6 months you have to do. But if you have selected the right person and provided them a very clear thing, And this also depends on who, if that job, what is the job nature?
Right.
If the job nature is of a strategic nature, then of course even one day is too long. Once you are sure, right? Even one day is too long.
Right.
If the job nature is of very routine job, then of course you can
Delay the.
delay it up to a certain point till they become till they start delivering their job.
But you see that if you so the strategic one I totally agree. But जो दूसरे वाले में होता है कि फिर people around them देख के कहते हैं यार इस पे फैसला नहीं ले रहे, इसका output नहीं आ रहा, or it might affect the others.
जी 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 जी
You know, so what is that? That's a fine line. I just wanted to get your experience.
Well, you have to believe in meritocracy. अगर आपको मेरिट पे आप जो है आपको फैसला करना चाहिए. It should be a merit based decision, and you have to, that's very difficult, easier said than done. And to have the merit based decision, you can ask your colleagues, you can have a one-to-one discussion with them, you can have other people sit on that and see that what they're doing, what you are doing is right, before taking a decision which is, let's say, very results in separation.
Right.
You know.
Interesting. What about, tell me about a time that you almost failed, where you were like, I mean, this is a long journey, and I'm sure you encountered many moments where it was easier to say, yaar bas band karo, nahi ho raha, forget it. And how did you overcome that?
Yes, it's very interesting. So this moment is in management terminology is called the leadership event.
Right.
So the leadership event takes place, and you are not ready for it. Nobody is ready for it. You go into an emotional disturbance. You go into a moral crisis. You go into a into a crisis, and when there's no precedent, right? And it just looks so overwhelming. So this is a leadership event, and that's where a leader sort of gets up, just brushes his hands and gets up and running. We had two events, very short. Only 3 years after we started, one of our machines blew up.
It literally exploded.
In the third shift, the machine blew up, exploded, and about 1/4 of our building collapsed.
Was anyone hurt?
Yes, one person died. That was the most difficult thing, because I mean, you feel that you're responsible for it,
Right.
Why were there no safety checks? It was very, very new. We were only about 30 people, and it was just a very difficult decision.
And everyone knew everyone, such a small company.
Yes. And so and we were doing fairly well in terms of our size. So we dealt with it, and we picked up the bricks and managed and started producing again.
What was in your mind at that time?
At the time, it was that, wow, I mean, what are we going to do now? First of all, how do I face the parents of this, the family of this person? And there were different thoughts. There's somebody said, don't go to their funeral, don't go to them. And
I assume you went.
Yes, I did, and I just, I did not know how to ask for forgiveness from them. I think you just ask for forgiveness, and they were more than large-hearted, just because they said that it's Allah ki marzi thi, and this happened, and I had no words, and you could say nothing but just ask for their forgiveness and God's forgiveness. So this is it was a very, very emotionally draining moment. It took everybody, and me, about 3 days to even 4 days to decide whether we are going to open the doors again.
It came down to that.
It came to that, yeah. And then we rolled up our sleeves after that, and we looked at other people who were working there. They were all grieving, and they're also worried about their jobs.
Right.
The senior people could have found a job somewhere else, but the junior people probably would not have, would have, but it was very more difficult for them.
Right.
So I think that was the one moment. So the other moment came about in 2001, when we were almost 60% of our production was being exported to the US.
Okay.
And we were doing very well. And we thought, wow, we got it made,
Right.
I mean, for a pharmaceutical company to export to the US is the highest form of
That's the holy grail.
technology. Yes, yes, that's the you have found the gold mine in the gold
Right.
rush, And there was an external factor. You remember what happened in 2001, right? So
hard for anyone to forget.
Yes, so Pakistan was considered abetting those who were, let's say at that time,
Responsible for the tragedy.
responsible, or actually the air was filled with suspicion and a lot of conflict. It was almost as if everybody knew that something big is going to happen. And in our neighboring countries, of course, in Afghanistan, a lot of it was going on. And if you remember, Mr. Bush said that
You're with us or you're against us.
You are with us or you are against us, and if you are against us,
We're coming for you.
we are coming to you. Yes. So before 9/11, there were a lot of noises in the black box. So the authorities wanted to started clamping down on a number of countries, not just Pakistan, who were shipping medicines there. And they were just so one day, I think a few weeks before the 9/11, they sort of sealed a lot of medicines from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, and some other countries. And they said, we will have to check this for quality. Of course, they checked it and they released it, but only about 10 days before its expiry, which was 2 years later. And we lost a lot of inventory. We lost a lot of payments.
They held it for 2 years?
2 years, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And they said, it's all the tests are okay,
Yeah.
So, but that was too late. We had a lot of inquiry. And of course, our shipments could not go after that.
Yeah.
So we lost
That
a
must
lot.
have just killed the cash flow.
Yes. Cash flow and sales.
Yeah.
So we then restarted. And
how did you pump in cash to sort of recover? Because you need a new cash injection.
Yes. It was. We just cut down our expenses. We had to retrench some people, regretfully. We had to.
The capital for the inventory?
The capital for the inventory. There was all inventory was written off. And
for the new inventory,
very carefully, we had to keep our inventory at very, very low. We had to keep our payables high, our receivables as respectfully high as we could, and our receivables short, and we started all over again with one tablet at a time.
Right.
And one pack at a time.
Wow.
And new countries, we started new countries, new products, expanded within Pakistan into territories we never were before, and so on and so forth. And then
So we talked a lot about the industry. We talked about the journey of Getz, how you powered through difficult moments. Now I want to ask you that in your free time to relax, you spend time sailing, you spend time outdoors, you spend time on the water, and you're very involved with the World Wildlife Fund as well. How did you get involved with the outdoors? What is it about the outdoors and the sailing that attracts you to it?
Okay. So, first of all, I'm not very involved with the Worldwide Fund. I was.
You
on
were
its
some
board,
time
and
ago.
yes, but yes, I learned a lot there. And how did I get involved, and why do I get involved? Is that when I was in the US, I went there when I was about 20 years old. So I lived there for about close to about 15 years. And I liked backpacking, hiking. I got into the outdoors. I lived in a state which was, for over 9 years, in a state which was sunny and beautiful, California.
All about the outdoors.
All about outdoors. I used to bike 80, 90 miles over the weekend. I used to, and I climbed the two highest peaks in the United States.
Oh, wow.
And then I got into work, and then I came to Pakistan. And one day somebody asked me, do you regret coming to Pakistan? I said, no, I enjoy it, but I only miss the nature in Karachi. And somebody said, well, there's nature all around you. And I said, where is it? And they said, all right, so you spend all of Sunday and with me. And then, he had a small sailboat, and he had a dinghy boat, and we sailed, and he took me out into the ocean. And those were the days when there were dolphins all around, there were pelicans all around,
wow.
there were flamingos all around.
What year was this?
This was in 1993.
93.
Not too long ago.
ago.
1994, sorry, 1994. 93, 94. So
you got into sailing in 94.
And at the time, I did just helped him out. He was building a pharmaceutical factory in another country.
Right.
I helped him out, and he was moving there, and so he gifted me his sailboat before leaving.
What a nice
and
gift.
this is how I got into sailing, and on and on.
That's a nice.
So and Karachi has, of course, a beautiful sea, but unfortunately,
we're not taking care of it.
Unfortunately, we dump about 600 million gallons of raw, untreated sewage into our seas every single.
That sounds like a lot.
Every single
day.
And
600 million
gallons of raw, untreated sewage into our sea every single day.
That's unbelievable.
And it's not the same sea anymore. You have to go very, very far away to see the same sea. And of course, but we have a very, very nice,
vibrant coastline.
Nice coast, and so that's.
So tell me this. I mean, we dump so much sewage into it. Can this country afford to worry about climate change? I mean, यहाँ पे बाइक में डालने के लिए फ्यूल के पैसे नहीं होते लोगों के पास. मतलब डिस्पोजेबल इनकम नहीं है. यहाँ पे कमिटीज़ के थ्रू आप अपने महीने के खर्चे पूरे कर रहे हैं. क्लाइमेट चेंज तो एक अमीरों का मसला होगा, नहीं?
तो देखिए, it depends how you look at it. In the US, as you know, Mr. Ex-President Trump once said that this climate change, which is so much talked about, is a science fiction.
Right.
And of course, now that science fiction is turning into a real monster and devastating the city.
More science, less fiction.
The more science and fiction. I mean, New York City, who had imagine the New York
Brooklyn
City
Hospital
would be flooded, right?
Yeah, completely flooded.
Flooded. And they said it'll be like that from here on,
Yep.
But for Pakistan, it is more important for the poor to care for the climate change. Of course, the poor cannot. It's the elite and it's the government. रियासत जो है ना उसको कुछ करना पड़ेगा दोनों के लिए, गरीबों के लिए और अमीरों के लिए, दोनों के लिए. देखिए जब कैंसर आता है तो वो किसी गरीब और अमीर का तफरीक नहीं करता. और वो ऐसा अगर जीन हो कैंसर की which is very very invasive, it doesn't look at your bank balance, it doesn't look your assets, it doesn't look your balance sheet, it just goes into your system and just does a number. I mean, तो अगर आप ये कहेंगे ट्रम्प साहब की तरह कि ये तो जी हमारा मसला नहीं है, ये तो अमेरिका का मसला है, ये तो पोल्यूट तो वो लोग कर रहे हैं, हम थोड़ी कर रहे हैं, जो कि अनफॉर्चुनेटली हमारे हुकूमत की लाइन रही है. मैं उनसे मुदबाना गुजारिश करूँगा. आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट देम दैट प्लीज़ गिव इट अनदर थॉट. You know, yes, the ozone layer is much more torn in some countries in the West than in Pakistan. But when you continue with the deforestation to the level that we have done, you know, and you pollute your rivers and your seas to the level we have done, then there is no room left to absorb the hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons can only be absorbed by two means: forests and water, lakes and oceans. When you have deforested your entire country or most of your country, and it's going on at a very fast rate, or you have, you know, polluted your rivers and your oceans to the point where it has no capacity left to absorb those hydrocarbons, then, you know, it is going to be a very punishing. Nature will be very, very punishing. We've already seen some of it, you know, and everybody knows that Pakistan will be the major point of disasters for when the climate change.
Why is that?
Well, it just happens. It is the ecological location. It's the geographical location where यहाँ पे जो, as you know, कि कहीं ज़्यादा बारिश होती है, कहीं कम होती है, कहीं ड्राफ्ट होता है, कहीं फ्लडिंग होती है. तो हमारे यहाँ जो है, जो हमारे जो बेसिन्स हैं सारे, वो इरोड कर रहे हैं. Even if you go today to KT Bandar, you see that a lot of that basin has been eroded.
और उस erosion की वजह से पानी ऊपर आएगा.
जी, उसके
पानी
ऊपर आएगा.
शहरों में आ जाएगा.
And many towns will already disappear. Today's Dawn has a photograph of a graveyard near Hyderabad. It is a large mass of area which looks like a lake or a sea, and it was actually a graveyard once. And so that, and of course, जो पंजाब के जो rivers हैं, they're the 10 most poisonous rivers on earth, you know, because the water from those rivers come down from India. And Indian cities are overpopulated, very industrialized. They're also throwing all that effluent, solid and liquid waste into the rivers, and they're coming down to our rivers.
Right.
India is now starting a very large program on effluent treatment plant across its rivers. I hope that we can also do that one day. Otherwise, ये जो सारे जो जहरीला पानी है, ये टॉक्सिक पानी है, जो टॉक्सिक, ये इसमें हमारे सब्जियां उगती हैं और इसमें हमारे गाय भैंसे मवेशी जो है वो उसको खाते हैं, पीते हैं, और वो उनका दूध हम लोग पीते हैं. So it's going to be very, very cancerous and very, very toxic. So I think it's we should do it for the rich and the poor alike.
Right.
You know.
And that's a topic not many people think about, frankly. I mean, climate change becomes a distant 10th, not even 10th, 100th topic item, because सामने जो हमारे 10,000 मसले हैं वो इतने prominent होते हैं, and that affects day-to-day life that we don't think about climate change and how it affects us. Just the air quality, with the air we breathe, our water, our rivers, the land, the food we eat, all of that is affected, like you said.
या देखिए हमारा जो फॉरेस्ट कवर है ओनली 2.5% रह गया है.
बट ये तो बिलियन ट्री सुनामी शुरू हुआ था, उससे इम्प्रूवमेंट नहीं आएगी इवेंचुअली ओवर टाइम?
किससे? सॉरी.
जो इमरान खान का बिलियन ट्री सुनामी था कि भाई हम बिलियन ट्रीज प्लांट करेंगे, वुडंट दैट हेल्प improve the cover of forest, like you're saying, from 2% to 10% again?
सो मुझे एक्चुअली कोई नंबर्स नहीं पता कि 2 बिलियन में से कितने लगे या नहीं लगे, मगर एक जो दरख्त है वो जो लगता है नया, उसकी मोर्टालिटी बहुत हाई होती है, ये हम सबको पता है. बहुत कम सर्वाइव करते हैं. तो आप और दूसरी बात ये कि वो जो दरख्त हैं वो 50 साल लेते हैं, 75 साल लेते हैं उसको जंगल बनने में. तो यू better off not cutting them off, you know. Why should we there's so much land. आपको इतनी greed नहीं होनी चाहिए कि आप फॉरेस्ट को डिनोटिफाई करें. आप उसको नेशनल फॉरेस्ट को, नेशनल पार्क्स को जो है उसके ऊपर स्ट्रक्चर्स बनाएं. ये हमारे तो
हाउसिंग सोसाइटीज़ कैसे बनेंगी फिर अगर डिनोटिफाई नहीं करेंगे फॉरेस्ट को?
हाँ, हाउसिंग सोसाइटीज़ कुछ ऊपर के लिए भी छोड़ दें. ऊपर भी कुछ हाउसिंग, अल्लाह मियाँ ने कुछ वादे किए हैं कि अगर आप इंसानों के ऊपर रहम,
वहाँ की हाउसिंग का कोई नहीं सोचता है. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I had such a wonderful, interesting conversation, so diverse. I think I learned more about the pharma industry today than I have in years. And it was really, really nice to hear about your story and how you got through and demonstrated resilience in difficult times. I think that's very important. Aaj, we deal with a lot of Gen Z people here. And I think that's one thing that I would give them, is that resilience that you see in entrepreneurs. That is what we need to inculcate more of. And I think you demonstrated that early on in your career.
Thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to be here. I've been listening to your podcasts of many people, and they're very creative and they are very insightful in terms of asking questions. It provokes you, very provocative. You have to kind of think deep and answer them. And that's
I appreciate
very good investigative reporting.
I appreciate it. Though I never thought I'd be a journalist and here, I'm doing this. Thank you again for tuning into DigiTales, and stay tuned for more episodes next week. Like our channel if you have not subscribed below. Leave a comment. I try to answer your comments. I take feedback from you and I try to incorporate it into the content. And so your feedback is extremely valuable. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. Allah Hafiz.